What up, fellas? Coming live from beautiful Bucaramanga, Colombia, a city that's not well known, that's not well spoken about, especially for everybody that comes and visits this country. But I'm on a little solo trip here, a vacation. Wanted to get out of where I live in Medellin as I approach to kind of leave here for a bit because I've been living in Colombia in terms of my Latin American home base for the last 3 years plus. And I'm getting ready to go choose another home base. As you guys know, my goal was always to have multiple passports, visas, and a home base on every continent. So I'm gonna go see which African countries I like for the next half of the year. And also Europe, because I was living in Italy for a bit. Western Europe really isn't my thing. So I'm gonna go tour Eastern Europe a little bit. Anyway, fellas, I believe every man should solo travel. I'll give you guys a little tour of the spot, right? It's a little dirty, man, you feel me? Like, I'm living in this bitch, you know what I mean? But I'll give you guys a little tour of the spot, man. But I believe that every man should solo travel, man. This camera's not fucking going down, shit pissing me off. Yo, the Osmo Pocket gets on my nerves, man. But a little tour of the city. It's a nice day. It's a nice day out here, man. You know what I mean? But I believe every man should solo travel because in this modern day and age, people are afraid of solitude. And not for being alone, but for what solitude exposes of them. And what I mean by that is when you're constantly around people, constantly distracted, it's easy for you to put off things that would serve you, or it's easy to put off internal issues that you haven't faced because you're distracted by work, by a relationship, going out. But when you have nothing but yourself and solitude, that's when a man can really start to focus on his inner self and start to have certain thoughts come up and what I call downloads. Downloads meaning certain pieces of information just come to you. And if you're an entrepreneur watching this like myself, like the majority of my audience, you know those moments where you just get a great idea for a project, a product, a service, a piece of content. I typically get my best content ideas when I'm just in a place of sitting down and just thinking, right? Or when I overcome something personally in my life and I know that this life lesson can serve somebody. But the thing is, we're so distracted these days, whether it be social media or just constantly having to do something, right? But here's the thing. A man's power, his strength comes from his authenticity, right? But you only get to really discover what the authentic version of you is if you get to know yourself. Now, there lies the question, well, how do I get to know myself, Dud? Well, you get to know yourself by you going through trials and then you working on yourself in solitude so that you can become more congruent with your identity so that you don't have to become performative in social settings. Well, what do you mean by performative? You know how in certain settings, whether it's at work or it's at some type of event or whatever, you kind of have to put on your work voice or just have to only display a certain part of you, and that part of you might not even be profound. That part of you might be superficial, right? Because of the setting that you're at. Well, there's a way for you to authentically express different facets of yourself in any setting. It doesn't matter whether I'm at a business meeting, whether I'm on a coaching call with my guys, whether, whatever. I'm gonna be myself. Now, in certain contexts, obviously, for example, I live in multiple different societies and I have to know how to interact with people based off of their culture and be able to articulate certain messages eloquently in a way that said population, said demographic can receive it. Obviously, we understand how to move in out of different societies as modern day Renaissance men. But what I mean is, I'm still always gonna be my authentic self. And on a solo trip like this, which is where I find most of my inspiration, right? I've told you guys a lot of stories about certain things that I've experienced all around the world, certain things that I've overcome. Most of those things happened when I was on a trip by myself somewhere in some random country, whether I was in Iceland or fucking Honduras, some random country. And when you're solo traveling as a man, if you have the opportunity, if you have the funds, it really teaches you how to be self-reliant. It really teaches you how to navigate, how to trust your own competency, how to talk and have social skills, right? And this bleeds into other parts of your life. If you guys don't know how to talk to women, or you get nervous around talking to attractive women, it's because you're not comfortable with yourself and you're putting too much expectation on the end goal with the woman. You need to reframe how you look at things, right? I can walk up to any woman because I don't care, right? I'm not looking for, at the end to just get sex. If it happens, cool, but I'm not stressed over that. I know who I am. I know the kind of women I'm already dealing with, right? So we have to be able to move with this type of frame of mind, but you can't do that unless you're congruent with yourself, unless you're comfortable with yourself. And so solo travel forces you to get comfortable with yourself. You got to move in and out of these different societies, especially if you don't speak the language. You have to learn how to communicate in different languages, how to navigate. You have to learn how to manage your money properly, which is going to help you as a business owner, which is going to help you as a father, as a husband in the future, if you fancy that. Solo travel forces you to understand yourself, right? When you're alone in a foreign land and you don't know anybody, right? How do you move? Are you comfortable being alone? You know what I mean? So this is why, man, I believe that solo travel for a man, if you can, is great. And it's really not that expensive as you think it is. Traveling to a lot of countries, you can do that humbly. You know what I mean? Like this spot that I'm staying in right now, the shit costs $20 a night. You know what I mean? Like it's not crazy expensive. The flight here costs what, $70? You know what I mean? It's not expensive at all. And it's an opportunity for me to just get away, explore another city, make new connections. Also, anytime that I travel to another country or city, and I oftentimes, get told, oh, Dud, don't travel to that country. That country is dangerous. Don't go to Moldova. Don't go to Congo. Why do you want to go to Botswana? Why do you want to go to Namibia, right? Why do you want to go to Bosnia or why do you want to go there? Why do you want to go to Colombia? Why do you want to go to Honduras? Here's the thing that you don't hear about. Every country, right? Because even Pakistan, like I got told, Dad, why do you want to go to Pakistan? Every country that you go to, doesn't matter how poor third world country. I'm from Haiti. My family is from the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, right? And I'll tell you right now, where my dad is from, up north in Okap, in Cap-Haïtien, there's still elites. Every nation you go to, there will always be an elite class of aristocrats, right? Of the bourgeoisie, of the clergy, the upper class, high society. When you go to these countries, if you earn in dollars or euros or dinars, if you're very blessed to earn in a higher currency, it would behoove you. Now, I'm a little bit more adventurous. I like to go to the local dangerous areas, which most would say that's stupid. And it probably is, but that's where I've gotten my most exhilarating life experiences. But I also go to the high society. I stay in the nice hotels, sometimes Airbnbs. Go to the high society in those areas and just live and, network and feel the energy and experience the country, right? If you don't speak the language, start working on that shit. It's gonna make you better anyway. Y'all gotta learn more languages. If you're only speaking 1 or 2 languages, come on. You should be speaking at least 4 languages. Get your shit together. You know what I mean? Like, communication is powerful. Communication will make you so much fucking money. It's gonna get you the exact beautiful women that you want, the baddies that you want. Like, you have to learn how to articulate yourself in multiple different colorful ways. So if you're just speaking 2 languages, get your shit together. Hopefully watching my content will teach you that being a polyglot is fucking lit. You know what I mean? But any country that you go to, try to stay in the high society areas if you are privileged enough to earn in a higher currency. And you'd be amazed at just the inspiration that you get from the ambiance and the kind of people that you meet and the kind of women that you meet. For me personally, I like dating women that come from nice, structured, loving families. Those families tend to have more money. I like women like that, right? I've dated women who came from broken families, from lower classes like my family. I don't really like that much. Some might say that they're more humble. I've met a lot of rich women who are humble, fellas. So, like, I want you guys to go experience life for yourself. Be in solitude. Figure yourself out as a man so that when you walk in public, you'll walk with this silent confidence. You can watch all these videos on the internet of how to be confident, but until you go out in the world and actually do the work on yourself, heal your childhood traumas. First and foremost, get to know your childhood traumas. Be able to control yourself emotionally as a man and not have any outbursts, because most men can't even control themselves because they don't know themselves. And solitude reveals that. Solo travel reveals, am I comfortable with myself, or do I need my homeboy to go on a trip with me? Do I have to lean on him because I'm too afraid to go walk out in the street by myself? Nah, I can go anywhere in the world by myself and feel comfortable in my own skin with my own thoughts. Get to know your thoughts, get to know yourself, fellas. And solo travel, it forces you to sit with yourself as a man. Okay, so fellas, that's the video, man. Coming live from beautiful Buca da Manga, a city that's not spoken about because, you know, the fucking passport bros and the men who seek prostitution, they don't come here because, one, you have to speak the language. It's not that comfortable here. It's not the most enticing city, and you have to really be here for culture, right? This isn't just for like the parties and all that stuff. And if you like that shit, cool. Once in a while, I'll go out to a party and club, but we're men of culture. You know what I'm saying? There's so much more to life than just pussy. And if that's all you think about, then that's a real reflection on why you live the kind of life you live, man. You know what I mean? But yeah, fellas, that's the video, man. Solo travel, get to know yourself, work on your mindset, work on your confidence, work on your traumas that you don't even know are there because you haven't spent the adequate amount of time sitting down with yourself and letting these old thoughts and emotions come up. Once you sit down with yourself, even if it's for 15 minutes a day, and just silence and observe your thoughts, you'd be amazed at what comes up. You'd be amazed at the creative ideas that come to you for business or for whatever. Salute.